Hi all, welcome back or welcome to my channel where I give you my 2 cents on all things TV and film. And today we are talking about All American Season 7, Episode 4, titled Face Off. I just want to jump right into the Layla Coop situation and get all of my frustrations about that out first, because this whole episode, Layla basically went from being ambushed the entire time to then apologizing for her actions, which were completely valid, and so the apologies were completely unnecessary. And the more that I thought about it, the more I realized that Coop is the reason why this whole situation went the way it did, because she inserted herself into the whole entire thing, which is not what she needed to do, and she also doesn't listen. She didn't listen to Elle when she came in and they met, and she told Coop that she didn't want to be in the spotlight, and then once Layla came on the scene, she then made it seem like she wanted to be on the spotlight and was also speaking for Elle, which is not her place at all, and she shouldn't have even been in that conversation to begin with. And then she was not listening to Layla when she was telling her that she didn't want to deal with the artist, and was giving her very valid reasons as to why, because of all of that awful stuff that she said on the internet years ago, and thought it was a good idea to bring Elle to Layla's home, which is her safe place, in a time where she was feeling very triggered and upset with that person, and just thought that that was a good idea. And then also stayed for dinner and a movie and gave Layla the silent treatment. And again, the more you think about it, the more you realize what was happening. It was all Coop. And none of that had to happen. Like, obviously, because of what we learned Elle said online about people with depression, we know that that's not going to jive with Layla. And she's going to have to do some serious work to prove to her that she has changed before Layla even considers taking her on as a songwriter, which is what she wanted to do. And that all eventually happened, but she didn't have to be so upset and in her triggered feelings with it as prolonged as it did because of all of the stuff that Coop did. All Coop had to do was back off and just let Elle interact with Layla. Of course, there was going to be tension there, but Elle wasn't even really in the wrong at all, and she was constantly apologizing for everything that she did when she got more information. And then, of course, we see their final scene where Layla does take her on and they have that conversation, which is all that really needed to happen, but it happened so late because of all of the interference from Coop. So yeah, I guess this answers the question that I had a couple episodes ago where I was questioning why she was even involved in the first place, and the only reason that would be acceptable is if she started working with Layla. And so now that is what's happening, and I'm very interested in seeing that, because I initially thought that she would want to come back into the spotlight and be a singer, but now she's saying she just wants to be a songwriter. And so now I'm wondering, are there going to be any new artists that are going to come to the label that we have not seen before that are going to be singing these songs? I know Patience is going to be coming back, so is she going to be singing those songs? What's going to go on? Is Elle eventually just going to be the one to sing them and be an artist again? Those are my questions when it comes to that whole situation, but just need to get all of that off my chest about Coop, because it pissed me off, if you can't tell. We are learning a lot more about Khalil in this episode because his dad shows up, and that man is awful. And he's annoying. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, I think it was their first scene together, he kind of implied that he bet on Khalil's game and won some money off of it. And if that's the case, this could take a horrible turn. But really, all I have to say is that he sucks. And he's the type of person who, stayed where he grew up, I guess, is involved in gangs and all of that activity. And like, he's actually terrible because he comes for Khalil's character and talking about basically that he's flaky and he doesn't stick around and all of that stuff. And he says that behind his back to Jordan, but also Khalil knows that that's how he talks about him. And he kind of just wants to bring him down to his level, and whatever Khalil does that seems successful, that seems like a way out, he's like trying to pull him back down, like the whole crabs in a barrel mentality. And I talked about in another video, just asked the question, where's Khalil's mom? And now I'm starting to think, because his dad said that he had him at 16 and had to raise him as a single father. So his mom was gone from like the moment Khalil was born. So obviously I'm thinking that she's still out there somewhere, but she left him and that left him completely damaged. And so it seems like anything that Khalil does that isn't associated with what he is doing, he feels like he's going to leave him and abandon him just like his mom did. So I hope that that comes to light, because maybe that will make me feel less angry with him, but he still sucks and he needs to deal with that as an adult and not take all of that out on his son when it has absolutely nothing to do with his son. I will say that I'm very proud of Khalil for standing up to him and expressing what he wants out of life, and that he's not going to take the same road that his dad did. What I am scared for is Jordan's life. And I know I probably shouldn't speak this out loud and put it out into existence, but I fear that man is coming for Jordan. I need him to be protected at all costs. I'm like, Jesus be offense, because we don't want to see him get hurt or like attempted murder, maybe. I don't know. But it just feels like this could turn very dark and bad soon, simply because Jordan is trying to be a good influence on his life. And let's all hope and pray that that's not the case, but it just feels like it could go down that road. And it's not like we haven't seen that happen before on the show, so I wouldn't be surprised if they let it happen again. But again, we just hope not. And speaking of Jordan, will there ever be a time on this show where a father actually likes him? Because none of them do, not even his own. And like, it's like I feel bad for him because they all hate him and he doesn't know why. And I'm pretty sure it has absolutely nothing to do with him as a person and everything to do with that person's feelings about Billy or themselves. And it kind of sucks for him because he is now an adult and he is a working adult, and these people are supposed to be his peers. Yes, Cassius is a rival coach, but clearly KJ is taking an interest in Jordan. Jordan went to Beverly, the school where he's coaching at, so they're peers right now. And the only like good relationships that Jordan has right now are with kids. Or like I guess like separate from like his wife and his family. But it's just the kids. And he really doesn't have any adult friends right now at this point, whether they're coworkers or not. So that just kind of really sucks for him. And I know this is going to be an ongoing thing, but let it be resolved. And let this man not like stop getting yelled at by these dudes who are also adults and probably shouldn't be yelling at him to begin with, because it has to do with their own personal problems. But moving on from that, Jordan still sucks at being a detective. And he's going all in. And I am not looking forward to the moment when he finds out that it's not Bobby who is his uncle, and probably jeopardizes his entire career and job. We'll talk about this later, but I don't think that it's Bobby. And this whole search and him attaching it to him instead of just searching for an unknown person, it's not going to end well. But yeah, we'll get to who I think it is and my theories later in the video. And now let's talk about the Jeremy family, because they are back together in this episode. And I'm really glad about that because KJ's mom is back and it was needed, because I went from feeling bad for him to being annoyed with him because he's getting so whiny and his attitude needed to be put in check. And since Tori wasn't around in this episode, it was his mom that had to getting with all of that. So thank you for coming back for a visit. Now I really did enjoy the scene in the game where he stepped into his own and like was finally scoring and getting his rhythm back and his footing back. Was not at all expecting that jersey swap. And now I'm wondering how many times am I going to have to watch an Eagles team with a quarterback whose number is 1. And it's going to be all the time, everywhere. But yeah, I like that. I like the jersey swap. I like the flashbacks that we got when Jordan ran that play and then seeing KJ run that play. But also I just knew that his dad was going to be pissed off about the whole thing. And even in the end, that look that he gave to the jersey, we know that he is still feeling pissed off about that whole thing. And while we're on the topic of Cassius, it is becoming very clear that this man is just dealing with a whole lot of insecurities about being a coach, about being a father, about being a husband, all of it. And again, I am concerned with how he's dealing with it, because every time we see him, it just feels like he's getting worse and worse. And I'm not looking forward to the day when everything boils over and he has a big blow up. Who he has a big blow up to? What will that lead him to do? What kind of meltdown or crash out is that like? How's it going to look like? I'm not looking forward to any of it, and I can see it on the horizon, and I just hope that the aftermath of all of that is not as terrible as it possibly could be, and that he finally takes the steps to deal with all of the mess that is going on in his life. But I will say that I honestly get it. And in this moment in his life, everything is unsettled, even for KJ. And like, him being whiny and having an attitude is annoying, but it's understandable because of where they are in life. Everything is unsettled. They've moved to a different city. They're playing for a completely different team, playing and coaching. And they're even still living out of the hotel, and the family is separated for the first time ever. So their whole entire environment has completely been rocked at the same time. And they haven't had really any time to process any of that, because the moment they went to LA was the moment they stayed in LA and told KJ about the whole thing. And so it's all still very fresh and new. And then they have to dive into the football season, and KJ has to dive into school at a new school. There has to be a moment where they get to process all of that, where just like everything stops. And they get to process all of those feelings, get everything off their chest that they need to get off of their chest so they can move on. Hopefully that starts with them moving out of that hotel room and finding a real place to live, because if I have to see another episode of them in that room, I just don't know why it frustrates me so much. But I'm like, can they please find a house or an apartment or somewhere where these guys are not sharing the same room, because they're literally in the same space all the time, at home, at school, at practice. They're always around each other. They need a break already, and it hasn't even been that long. So I'm hoping that that is the first step to them having the space to process all of the mess that they've been dealing with so far. And now let's get into what I think is probably the most fun section of the video. Who is the uncle? And I have a new theory, which I'm probably, like I said before a million times, I'm probably going to have a new theory every single time. This theory makes absolutely no sense, but do any of them? Because we still don't have a lot of information. But for some reason, I am now thinking that it could be Khalil's dad. The man that I dislike very strongly right now could possibly be Jordan's uncle. And like I said, I don't think it makes any sense. I don't know why, but when he said that the kid stayed in foster care, and was never adopted, I don't know. I just felt like that was a possibility. So there you have it, friends. That is my new theory. And you can let me know that it makes no sense. I get it. I know it doesn't. And I do have to mention that I don't think this show loves us enough to show us any of that Napa trip that Jordan and Layla are about to go on. I would be very surprised if we saw any of it. And I don't mean seeing them leave and then seeing them come back and talk about it. I mean like see them there at all. I would be very shocked. Now, what I would want would be an entire episode dedicated to that trip, but I am fully aware that this is a 13 episode season, and there's probably not enough time for that. I'm not expecting to see any of it. I will be pleasantly surprised if we do. But I do want to extend y'all to like brace yourself on not seeing any of it, because I'm already seeing people who are like, I'm gonna be so mad if I don't see it. And I don't want you to be mad, but you're probably gonna be mad. And I just want you to have a week. Just sit with that. Cool. Oh yeah, I just remembered, before I end, I do want to say that I did check Coop low-key stalking her professor online. And like I said in a previous video, I don't want this to be a hot for teacher type of situation, and it's looking like it might lead that way. And I can't deal with that, and I don't want that. So I might not talk about that if it happens unless something huge and explosive happens and I need to get it off my chest. But why? Okay, folks, now I am done. That is all that I have for you. As always, let me know how you felt about the episode and any of the things that I talked about in this video. Continue to feed me all of your theories on who the uncle is. If you are a fanfic writer and want to write a fic about that Napa trip and send it to me personally, you could possibly be my best friend if you do that. I'm just gonna leave that out there. But I'll catch you guys on the flip side, and I'll see you later. Bye.